Welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. Every Thursday, I host an episode of either Behind the Scenes or Transformation Time. On Behind the Scenes, our guest speakers are real estate investors. They're here to help you by sharing their stories and their experiences. So on Behind the Scenes, we're going to get to talk about what the project was that they worked on. We'll get to check out the numbers that they had, high-level numbers. And the best part of all, we will get to hear the problems they encountered, how they solved them, and if it was something new for them, what they would do next time. So let's get excited. Let's send lots of hearts, because today's guest speaker, and I totally forgot to introduce myself and our guest speaker. My name is Diana Lizarazo. I'm the host, and today's guest speaker is Anson Darville. So let's send Anson some love. Let's welcome him on, and let's get it started. Just give me a minute. Oh. Let's try again. Just getting Hanson on.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So let's just get started with, first of all, starting to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself. What's your real estate strategy? How long have you been investing? Anything you'd like to share with the community?
Yeah, so I've been investing for a couple of years. I also do property management and some Airbnb arbitrage stuff. And I've moved into project management, it seems, in a heavy way right now lately, with other entrepreneurs and investors wanting me to help them transform their spaces like we did with the property that I'm actually sitting in right now. And but I started out managing and doing renovations and things like that for tenants when I used to work in a commercial capacity back 2012. So I've been kind of involved in the real estate games for over a decade.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. So we're going to get to view the property then? You're going to show us around of the property?
We've got one unit that we're actually in the middle of finishing up, getting it ready for our next Airbnb. And then I can do a quick walk around of the exterior of a building that we just, do you want me to maybe give a little bit of the backstory on that property, on the property?
Tell us, what is the property and what is the strategy? So what is this kind of property and what were your plans with it?
So this is a good old-fashioned burr. We bought this property, and it's 5 residentials with 1 commercial. Okay, so we bought this property. We closed on it July 29th of last year. We took possession and immediately started the process of getting ready for a major renovation on the residential side of things. We weren't planning to do anything with the commercial at the time, and quickly learned some lovely lessons. Went through the process of having to ask the tenants to leave. Unfortunately, it was unfortunately and fortunately it was for their best interest, because the amount of mold and things that we found when we started renovations, no one should have been living in the residential component, that's for sure. And we did it the right way. We followed all of the Service New Brunswick rules. We gave everybody their 90-day notice. Some of them didn't technically need to have 90-day notice to meet the rules and regulations, but we wanted to be respectful. Being in the industry, I also helped a couple of the tenants to find other spaces to go to. And, we tried to be as courteous as we could with the fact that, we are uprooting people from their homes. But it was needed. We ended up going from a cosmetic reno of just ripping out kitchens and putting new kitchens in, ripping out bathrooms and putting new bathrooms in, to we ended up having to redo pretty much the entire kitchen bathroom area on every unit. We had to, down to studs. We had to replace insulation in the attic because there had been melting from improper electrical. There was, and then when you open up walls, we upgraded the plumbing, because if you've already got the walls open, you need to make sure everything's to code. We found in this unit I'm actually in right now, we found 36 shark bites, which if for those that don't know what shark bites are, they're temporary plumbing fixes throughout the walls and ceilings. So we had to rerun new PEX plumbing. And we're pretty happy. This unit's a little bit chaotic right now, but I'll start back. I'm just going to flip my screen.
And
so
what city are we in right now?
And we're actually we're in St. John, New Brunswick. So this was the common laundry area for the entire building. So we actually put in this door here so that it becomes its own private space. It's locked. This is the emergency exit for the tenant, and they've got their own stackable washer and dryer. We put stackable washer and dryers in every unit. And like I said, we're a little bit messy, but this is the coolest transformation that we did. So right here was a wall. There was a wall from right there all the way over to here, and then there was a door. And then where this electrical panel was another wall. So it was a very claustrophobic unit. We took down both walls, made sure everything was good. We expanded the kitchen. And like I said, we're just getting ready to launch this as an Airbnb for this last unit because, well, I'm crazy and like to do Airbnbs. So, but this unit here had all new ceilings, all new walls had to be done because again of mold and the amount of shark bites we found. This unit here, we put new doors on, but everything else is still the same. We sanded and painted the walls. We put all new LED light fixtures in. We went to code with 120 volt smoke detectors. Over here with the bathroom, we went to a nice tub surround, because again we knew this was going to be an Airbnb, but all the units are great. New toilet, new vanity, and then in every unit we put in mirrors, so this gives them additional light, and they can also have that they won't have the fogging. And then the second bedroom, we're doing bunk beds in here. But again, we didn't gut this. It was just we sanded and painted. So we did put a new closet door in there because it was a little crazy. The whole building was converted over to electric heat, so electric baseboard, so that way we could remove the water baseboard heat, which was being supplied by natural gas and costing a fortune to heat this property. And again, it's kind of an omen. Originally, we hadn't planned to do the heat conversion. I'm so glad we did. The plumbers found pinholes in more than one spot where we had dripping occurring, which is also part of the reason why we had mold. If we hadn't pulled the water baseboard heat, we probably would have had a major plumbing disaster in the coming years, because we were still operating on 30-plus-year-old copper pipes for water baseboard. So I spent a lot of time with my projects. I actually had somebody reach out again today wanting to convert a 4-unit from oil water baseboard heat to electric heat. So this unit here, the reason why we went with as an Airbnb is because it had its own private entrance versus the rest of the apartments that are upstairs. The other 4 apartments that are upstairs are security doored.
I think we lost reception. But curious on your guys' thoughts. What do you think of it? Looks like one is an Airbnb. Oh, hey, you're back?
Oop. Still got me there?
Oh, I got disconnected. I don't know, maybe you may have to go inside because it may be cutting out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off the Wi-Fi, so when I walked outside, I lost the Wi-Fi switch over. So anyway, Wi-Fi's off. So, and we still have a few things to do with this property, like with this door. You know, we inherited this unsightly door. We'll get that painted now that the weather's good. We put in a total of 8 heat pumps into this unit, into this building. So there's 3 for the convenience store, and then each one of the units. So again, a lot of electrical.
That one is an Airbnb, and the rest of the residentials are those just regular long-term tenants?
Yeah, so we actually rented the 4 units in about 48 hours. It was like people were winning the lottery, because quality units in St. John are still a bit of a challenge, but there's so much opportunity for those people willing to put the time and money into it. But we had to do a full, this is another unexpected. Our original quote for electrical went right out the window because we ended up being forced to upgrade the entire meter system, the service entrance on the building, because of the fact that we ended up converting over to electric baseboard heat instead of having, and then the heat pumps, instead of having just water baseboard heat. And there's another one of the heat pumps there.
That's amazing. So these units you said it was 6 residential?
No, so it's 5 residential, which one of them we're going to use as an Airbnb.
And so,
and then
residential, are they all 2-bedroom, 1 bathrooms,
yep.
or what's the bedrooms? Oh, yeah, 2 bedrooms, yep. 1 bathroom, and then you have the one. Right, but it looked like there's is it 1 commercial building, 1 commercial unit
yep.
in there?
So there's
okay.
Yeah. So on the ground floor is 1 commercial unit. I'm just grabbing my keys so I can take us for a walk upstairs in the common areas, and then we have the one unit, which is actually, even though this looks significantly bigger, this is actually only about 680 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So that's again, we maximize space as much as possible. We did the same thing upstairs as well, where we took walls out to maximize the space. If you walked in there, you'd think you'd be walking into a 900 square foot or bigger apartment. And that's why I think we were able to rent them, is because they're spacious. We put the laundry centers in them. I actually have before and after videos. If anybody wants to reach out afterwards, I'll actually post them on my Instagram here. But if anybody's interested, feel free to reach out. But we did full transformations. So when we took over this building, the mailbox that was here hadn't worked in 15 years. The mail was being delivered. Yeah, the mail was being delivered to downstairs to the convenience store for 15 years. So we went with carpet on the hallway so that it was avoid slip and falls. It's high grade carpet. This is still the original door. All the fire rated doors are still the original, but as you see, as I walk through, the lights are turning on.
Mm-hmm.
So a huge. Well, what we did was, we've actually, in all the common areas, we put in motion censored lights, so that way we could keep our common area costs to a minimum. Because
it's a great tip for people.
Yeah, here's the back entrance of the unit that we started in, that I showed you. And so that's one of the ways that we're trying to reduce our common area costs, expenses, is by doing motion sensor lights. I'm going to show you another space that we did as well. So up here on the front, so we've got 3 of these big LED lights on the exterior of the building. They were big halogen bulbs that originally, and just by changing those out, we almost saved $200 a month in electricity. Like, our electricity bill, literally, I thought something was wrong. I actually called St. John Energy and asked if something had happened, because I was expecting a drop, but those running, because when we converted those over, it was winter, so the lights were coming on at 5:36 and staying on till 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So it was a major change. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what did you end up buying this property for?
So we bought the property for $550,000.
550,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what were your initial renovation costs? Because as you said, you've had some unexpected, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that's very different. So I'm curious to know actually what was the first renovation budget that you had?
So we had an initial budget of $225,000. That was to do again
200,
Yeah, $225,000. That was to do some known electrical challenges that we had from the inspection. We had we thought we only had a couple of pieces of aluminum wire, and that was also including a little bit of plumbing, because we had to fix the plumbing for the common laundry and so forth. And then the renovation of the 5 units was supposed to be just cosmetic. It was take old, nasty, outdated cupboards out and the bathrooms, put down new flooring, put in new bathrooms, paint, and get out, right? And we quickly realized that wasn't going to happen. So we also decided at that point that if we've got to gut and do the reno, we've got to do things right. Also, there's codes that have to be met. But that's when we moved to, okay, well, we're removing the water baseboard heat, because obviously it's creating part of the issue. That's when we decided, okay, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. Let's put heat pumps in, because that gives more value for the tenant. Plus, obviously, gives us the ability to get a better rent factor if they have air conditioning and lower cost heating in the winter. We ended up having significantly more electrical to do, because there was aluminum moretted with copper in the attic that had obviously melted insulation and everything else. So all that to say, we went from a $225,000 budget to we actually ended up doubling it. We actually ended up spending $450,000 total budget. So that's now we spent $40,000 just on appliances, right? You have 6 units with 6 appliances. We put range microwaves in every one of them, like the one I have behind me here. Or
that was other things you just decided to change in the end?
Well, we had already budgeted doing a range hood, not an over the range. The difference goes from, well, actually, this only ended up costing us about $80 more than what you can buy a range hood from Home Depot for, because of how much we bought, the discounts we got. But
and so how long was your renovation? How long was the duration of the renovation?
Yeah, so we actually started in the convenience store in August.
Oh, the convenience store was also empty.
Well, again, when we took possession, we inherited the store, and we've tenanted that and everything else. But we ended up having to take out some stuff in there. We ended up having, again, mold issues where the water baseboard was. We did repairs in there. We had to upgrade electrical in there because we ended up finding more aluminum than we anticipated. Yeah, so we ended up having.
The whole building was empty then?
No, the store was operational the day we took it over. We closed it.
Oh, but you did renovations with them in there still, or did they have to leave for a certain time?
We closed it for a month. It was closed for a month. So it was supposed to be a 5-day reno. It turned into a 28-day reno. But we put, my wife and I were in there rolling ceiling tile tracks with fresh paint because there was no budget to replace the entire tracking system, but we had to replace the ceiling tiles because the ceiling tiles were literally, if you touch them, they disintegrated, right? So it was a lot of learning curves. And so we started construction on the actual residential component in September. We had one empty unit on the date of possession. I had to give notice to the other four tenants. So we couldn't technically, because we took possession on July 29th, so August 1st, September, October. We technically weren't supposed to get access to any of the other units until November the 1st. Now, the way I always do it with tenants is, listen, if you decide you'd like to leave before the 90 days, as long as you give me notice on the 1st, I don't care. Like, we will gladly help you wherever we can. We're not going to force anyone to try to stay for 90 days, right? So one of the tenants gave their notice literally that minute. Like, as soon as we said, hey, he's like, no problem, I got a place, I'm going, I figured this was coming. He was gone for September 1. And then all three other tenants found places. We helped them, but they ended up finding places for October 1st. So we were a full month early emptying the building of residents. And so the construction went through, September, October, November, December. We had kitchen cupboards go on back order. We had appliances go on back order that we ended up having to pay more.
What year was you said?
Goods. Sorry?
What year were you doing these renovations in? Was this last year?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We did. So we took possession on July 29th. We started the commercial space on August the 5th for renovations. And we were done this unit I'm sitting in right now was handed over to me the middle of last month. And unfortunately, we had some deficiencies that we had to correct. So that's why it is still not up and operational, is because those things happen, right? That's part of the learning curve, is that you're gonna have deficiencies that have to be corrected, because people want to get the job done and sometimes rush things a little bit more than they should. And we had this door here. We had the delivery company with the appliances, and I'll be quiet of who it was. Deliver it, and almost tore the door off. So, and that's a 40-year-old fire-rated door. The only way, I can't buy a door to replace that. If we had to replace it, I would have had to rip that entire framing out and start from scratch. So we had to get creative on how to fix the door and still keep it safe and stuff. So the last month has been, let's fix the boo-boos. And it's been good. It's been, it's been so much learning that came out of this building.
And what project was this? Was this like your very first of this size, or your first? Oh no, because you said you've already been investing. So was this was this your first of like this big type of renovation?
So I have done like $500,000 commercial renovations, but it's very different because you take an empty shell. And that, mind you, they had a little bit of demo, but you take an empty shell and you transform it for a business to move into, right? It's very cut and dry. It's 4 walls and that's it. Versus there's a lot of moving components with residential that, again, lesson learned, that I now am, I'm going and I'm touching walls to see if they're soft. I advise, we're in the middle of a triplex electric baseboard conversion. I was able to advise the owner, hey, when we pull those water baseboard heaters off, the wall behind there could be rotten. We might have to cut out the bottom foot of drywall. Like, the knowledge that I got out of this building has been taking what I had and what I knew and coming into this. It's been an absolute amazing learning experience that will help me with my own renovation projects, but also other investors' renovation projects for years to come. And it's been awesome. Now the
and
beautiful
you learn
thing
a lot,
about it,
right? It's just so amazing. Like I personally would say, like, the bigger the problems, I feel like the better, because you just really learn everything, and they're usually so drastic, I feel that you'll also never forget them again. So you'll go to the next project where, like, that one's not happening again, or like, and like you said, you learn how, because I was going to actually ask you for the mold situation, like, how did you, because this is, like you said, that was like a first for you, right? So I was curious to know how did you first learn that you had it, and what would you do next time to make sure to be able to check that before, buying it, let's say, or even if there was a way.
So I don't like I've racked my brain. Like first thing I want to say, do I like the fact that we ended up 225,000 over budget, that we're double the budget? Heck, no, not even remotely. Okay. I wish I could have seen through. I wish I was Superman and could see through walls, because
Also, the mold was all inside the walls. It
all
would
inside the
just
walls. Like, we knew no, I shouldn't say that. The bathrooms we knew were in bad shape, and you'll see that in my before and after videos. Like, we knew that there was issues and more mildew than mold, and there is a huge difference between mildew and mold. Okay,
do you want to
in the
share that
bathrooms.
with the audience, actually?
Well, I don't know the scientific component to it, but at the end of the day, mildew I can clean up by myself, and mold I have to get an expert in. That's the easiest way to put it. And the biggest thing is the mold spores that end up in the air, right? So when we ripped open the wall, because the wall was a sponge, like when we pulled, for example, when we pulled out the tub surround, because it was those glue-on tub surrounds, and the wall starts coming with it and crumbling. Have you ever seen wet drywall, how it becomes like spongy? Well, that was the whole bathroom and the kitchen. So the minute that we saw that, then you end up having, nasty black mold in all over the 2x4s and everything else. We stopped. We call in the right person. They take a look at it. Yes, it is. Then you're bagging and to dispose of it, and everybody's wearing hazmat suits and masks, and it's a fun process. But
So
it was a
interesting. So
necessary
I
process.
think that probably one of the things that you would do then, it sounds like maybe it may be possible to check for the mold in the attic then, it sounds like.
Well, so
Instead of
again, so there wasn't mold issues in the attic. There was melted insulation, which until we started.
So they went up there to look for the mold, but then ended up finding another problem instead.
Well, so when we did the inspection, the guy was up there, and inspections are great, but it's always surface level, right? So when you start pulling back insulation because now you've got an issue in the unit below, and then you realize you've got, whoa, this is melted, charred insulation here. We had bulkheads that like, you got to understand, this thing was built in the 70s and had never had a major renovation. Okay, it had bulkheads with these crazy islands in the kitchen. And when we took the bulkheads down, you've got electrical that's coming down through there, and then that's when we start finding aluminum wires, moretted. Some of them weren't even moretted; they were just literally spun together. No morettes on it, no electrical, nothing to code, nothing. Right? And those are things that I've already gone through inspections since then. Okay. Mm-hmm. And even, the one I have, and actually I have another inspection booked next Wednesday for another property we're looking to buy. And the last property I went to was, ironically, a 5 residential with 1 commercial unit. I bought my electrician, my plumber, everybody under the sun. My HVAC person, I said, I'm not doing an inspection. I'm just going to bring the trades. Even the trades are like, you know what? Until we rip it apart, like, yes, the underneath the sink looks good, but until you rip that kitchen out and I see what's underneath the kitchen cupboard, I can't tell you what I'm going to need to do to fully upgrade all of the plumbing. Because, for example, we had 1.5-inch plumbing. Well, code now is 2-inch plumbing. So we had to replace the sink pipe, and we had stink pipes for the exhaust for the oh my lord, the tubs and stuff like that, that we ended up having to upgrade to proper piping. All things that until we took the wall apart, you could not know. But now,
and another thing that I'd like to say, just to make sure that I don't want to scare our viewers either.
Listen, the one thing I love this. I'm telling you right now, the learning was amazing. do I like that I had to find out this way? No. But now it doesn't scare me to go into these types of older renos because now I'm armed with what I could potentially come into so I can prepare for it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say like that, like this is such like coming into a project with the mentality that you're coming in where it's like, okay, like a problem solving mentality and a learning mentality is really important for these kind of projects. And like you said, I mean, you came into it because already a 250K project is quite a big project. So
Yep.
you came in with already the abilities of being able to do this size of project. And I feel like us type of more advanced investors where we do get into these bigger projects, usually we're coming in with a little bit more experience. And so it's, let's say, not as scary for us as it would for others. Because like usually we'll come in with a lot more contingencies. Or for example, like that, like the fact that you were already able to double the amount of money and that like you were actually able to do it means that like it also in that sense you were resourceful and able to get that done, whereas maybe a new investor may not get into something this kind of caliber, because it is true when you get into these kind of bigger projects, the buffers need to be higher. And maybe it's not like that, like maybe it's not, you're not expecting double, but usually like people are usually a little bit more padded for sure with the money situation when it comes to these bigger projects. And like you said, especially older homes, which I think is an important thing to reiterate that you said, is that with these types of homes, that, sorry, people are mad now, but with these types of homes, older homes, you really have to, like you said, like, you know, it's like, it's all a learning curve. And I think being prepared for the older homes is just something that I think we all have to be, you know, just being kind of with the expectations of, like you said, bringing the whole crew in. Not that they'll be able to get everything, because like you said, these walls are able to hide things very well, you know?
Yep.
But at least if you see huge mistakes on the outside, or not huge mistakes, or huge problems on the outside, I would say maybe even just be like, you know what, let's do it as a full gut. You know, if it looks that bad of an issue, don't, you know, I think
Yep.
that those kind of things also help, but also just to not scare the newbies. Maybe don't go into a big project like this one, like we would have gone. But I think definitely I say take all the advice that you're getting here, because these things will still happen even to regular homes. Yep. And it's always good to have those awarenesses, or at least those kind of like double checks, like, oh, let's check the piping because I might want a duplex. Because even in our duplex, that was one of the checks that we had to make, not to 2-inch, but I think we had to confirm that we are at a 1-inch or something like that, from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch or something, I forget. But yeah, I just wanted to put the disclaimer. I don't want people to get scared, because this is a big project and it is for people that are more experienced.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And again, like we've done single unit renos. Every project's going to have what I call hiccups and challenges. I don't view them as problems, because a problem you're not going to fix. You know, a hiccup or a challenge is where's my solution, right? I'm just finding the solution. And to your point about having the extra funds for the budget, was we worked with the bank. We got an appraisal done mid reno that to be able to estimate where we were going to be able to go for rents, how we were lowering expenses by doing these extra things. And the appraisal came back. So our original as-is appraisal, if we had only done what we originally planned, was we would have taken it from a $550,000 building with a $569,000 appraisal. That's what the appraisal was at the time of purchase, to $1.3 million. That was where it was going. That's obviously why we decided to do the project, right? With $800,000 lift, and we ended up getting back 1.55 at the mid, because rents in this marketplace are wow. That's the only thing I can say. And, you know, people are willing to spend the money on a quality apartment if they're not in a position to purchase. That's what I'm finding.
So interesting.
And
So you did in between refinance to pull out the money, and
well,
in between your project
so
refinance to pull out the money.
well, yeah, I guess technically it would be considered a refinance, but what we did was we got additional
Funding.
construction loan funds, right? We didn't do a full refinance, that for sure, but we got additional construction funds. And the bank believed where we were going and what we were going to do with it. And then
And that also
last
just
month,
shows, sorry, I just wanted to
yeah,
finish that and show and explain it, because that also just shows one resourcefulness on your part, that creating, like finding solutions to problems is so helpful, because, and also you made money on the buy, which is another one, right? Like you knew there was a lot of uplift for this building, and like that when things came up and I was like, wow, we're completely off budget, and you were able, and like that, if the banks are seeing value in what you're doing, or like the construction loan company, because that's probably, I'm guessing, a private, but what they're seeing the value in what you're doing, and they see that just shows a lot, and it shows that that was a good deal. So I just wanted to share that, because these kind of things are good indicators to help investors themselves also know if they are getting good deals or not.
yeah, no, and I'm a firm believer, if you're getting an appraisal done for a property you plan to do renovations to, then just pay for the current appraisal and ask for an as completed appraisal. So you give everything to this is where building relationships, right? So you give that appraiser, listen, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and we plan to be able to get this for rents. And they'll tell you if you're if they feel that you're completely out of touch with what rent you think you can get once you do the renos, which is also a good benchmark for to see if you're actually if what you're planning to do is worth what you're planning to do. And we were told we weren't going to get the rents, like our original appraisal for as is was based on like $300 less than what we get right now for rents, right? It was what the market was doing in July of last year. And but the thing was is they were basing it on buildings that had very little cosmetic renos done. They were not essentially rebuilt rental units. And when we by the time we went from well, the appraisal was done in June, in June of 2022, when we did another appraisal to get more construction funds in December, the rents had already gone up by $150 to $200 a month in our area. And we ended up securing very good rents. Plus, we reduced by removing the water-based board heat. We removed a major expense. We renegotiated our garbage expenses. We removed the electrical. Common area electrical came way down because of again moving to LED from halogen and turning the common areas into motion instead of having these old antique lights that were in there. All of these things, because if you've got to increase rent and decrease expenses if you want to raise the value of a building for those that are new to the game. So, and it's no different than any other business out there in the sense that you need to increase revenue and decrease expenses to have more money at the end of the month. And I think some people, like I have conversations with people just coming into the investment market that I don't know if they don't realize that it's literally like there's a convenience store here. It's the same thing. If you owned a restaurant, you need to increase revenues, decrease expenses. That's how you get a better bottom line. And investing is the same way. And the difference is we have an opportunity in a community to affect positive change with improvements, which is absolutely awesome. The same way restaurant can bring a new life, new breath into a neighborhood and things like that. So that's how I operate is what we're going to do give benefit to a tenant, but it's a business. Is it going to help them? Is it going to help improve the longevity of the project? And that's why we continued through the process that we went. And Yeah,
And I also love what you said about, or indirectly you're saying it, and I just want to make sure it's clear for
yep,
others, is that you're also in a problem solving mode, like that, like I'm having an issue with
yeah,
this, and you're looking into how you can reduce, for example, your expenses. And like that, just by LEDs, you probably weren't expecting, like you said, that drastic of a change, but it helps so much. And like you said, in any business type, it's all about finding solutions to problems and finding ways like that. Like if you're not cash flowing, actually recently I was speaking to someone, they were going to go sell their property, probably because it's not cash flowing. And then all of a sudden they found out they could put in some storage in the basement and charge, and then that was going to help them out a lot. So like this is like the mentality that you want to have to be able to like solve the issues, right? Like yours were like full on problem solving mode, this whole project, but it was
yep.
so beneficial, right? It served, it gave you a lot. And like you said, the knowledge that you gain from this project is just going to serve you forever. You'll probably pick up things so much quicker now and notice things that you would have never done. Like you said, for example, like the walls, for the walls being soft, is that for the mold? Like, because I know you said like one of the things I felt like you learned was that you're going to touch the walls. Is that for mold?
Yeah.
That was for mold, right?
So when for example, water baseboard heaters, okay, they're 11 plus inches wide, tall, usually on the wall. So during an inspection, I can walk now. I now know to go to to the corners where they come through walls, because that's usually where there's a seam, where if there's going to be water leakage. And if I see a seam in the pipe, in the actual pipe itself on the wall, I'm going to go and I'm going to just casually just push on the wall to see, is that a firm piece of gyprock, or is that a sponge? If it's a sponge, I probably have water damage behind it, which means if I'm going to take out that water baseboard heater and do a conversion, then I have to think, what is the additional cost going to be? Because ripping out water baseboard heaters, like I could have an entire conversation just on what the ripple effect of doing one component. That's another thing I drastically learned, was if you do one thing, there's 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 other things that have to be considered before you start, right? And those are the things now, like in the kitchens, like unless you rip out the back of a kitchen cupboard, which I've gone into some places where the back of the kitchen cupboard's been ripped open, you can't really tell how bad that wall might be. So you need to assess it based on what does the underside of the cupboards look like. Is the bottom of the cupboard rotten? Is the bottom of the cupboard a sponge because there's been so much water leakage? Though that's a good indication that when you rip out that kitchen cupboard or the bathroom cupboard, the vanity, that you're going to have issues, right? If there's been holes cut in the wall to access the plumbing for your tub, then that means there's been a water issue at some point. Well, how long did it leak before they finally fixed it? And was it fixed properly? So again, it gives you an indication of, okay, I gotta keep that in my mind, that we may have something here that has to be corrected. And I just recently priced with my contractor. I just recently priced converting a triplex to a 6 unit, and it's a full gut, right? And I'm always learning. And he said, you know what? We can guesstimate how much plumbing needs to be done, but until we start ripping things apart, it's impossible to give an accurate understanding of what the plumbing is. We can come within a number, but I don't know if we have to replace the sewer line from the outside into the building until we physically start assessing things, because the sewer line in this building was hidden.
100%.
So
And that's a risk that we always have to take on, right?
yep,
It's nothing, that thing is something until the walls get open, the concrete gets broken,
yep.
do we really get the opportunity to see what that final bill is going to
Yeah,
be?
and so if I've got one word of advice is, make sure you are overly cautious. Don't if the numbers don't make sense, they don't make sense. But don't cripple a project or walk away from a project because of the what ifs. Just make educated decisions on your estimates. And
100%.
if you can't afford a 20 or a 25%, like if you're doing a major project and you can't afford a 20 to 25% worst case scenario, then even if you can borrow the money, if the property's not going to be worth it when you're done, then don't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the end result. Is I work backwards. I start with what if I built this thing brand new, and what is the top rents I could get, and what do I estimate my expenses to be?
That's
Okay. And
interesting, actually. I do the same thing. I
yeah.
do like, if I had to build a sim from scratch, what's my top renovation budget?
Yep.
Or not from scratch, but I'd say like to
Yep.
the studs. I do the same thing, and then what the value is and what it is, and then breaking it down to like more realistic. But like you said, because then from there you have like all your different scenarios. So that's also a great tip that you gave.
It's if you run numbers with a best case scenario of I get the top market rents and I get the lowest expenses, and my valuation doesn't support how much I'm about to buy this building for and do a reno with, there's no need to go any further, right? You have to have, and right now I'm seeing 65 to 70% loan to value is the most that we're getting in traditional mortgages. That we're seeing, at least here in Atlantic Canada. I don't know what it's like in Ontario, but that's what we're seeing. There's a lot of more hoops to jump through if you're trying to do a CMHC, which we didn't even have the option to do a CMHC mortgage here because the commercial space takes up over 30%, right? So you've got to just run the numbers. The math does not lie. It doesn't matter what. You can love the property to death, but if the numbers don't make sense, it doesn't make sense. You can't make the numbers make sense. So, and that's kind of where, again, it's been, I have walked away from a lot of properties just by running numbers and going, it'll never be worth what I need to put into it. So again, unless you're planning on a long-term play where you're going to dump a whole lot of cash into the project to make it viable, the math doesn't make sense, don't do it, right?
And that's usually people looking to store their money, I feel like. Those are like cash-heavy people, and they just want a place to store their money. Which, again, I feel like what you and I are really talking about, or like, is running this more as a business where you kind of probably don't want to do that. Or, I mean, some of the money may or may not get stuck in the building because it is what it is. But with the intentions are to run it as a business. And then like that, like people who have a lot of money, they're more using it to like store their money in a hard asset type of thing.
Exactly. So there's all kinds of ways to do this. Working and learning from someone that's already done it is obviously my highest recommendation. And I had some really great people around me with this project that, also gave me confidence in what we were doing. So, it was great having commercial experience was great. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very different beast from a renovation component for residential, because now you're dealing with 8 little, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 6 units, whatever it is. It's not just one giant box that you're, maybe putting up some walls and a bathroom and maybe there's some warehouse space, maybe it's full, like those things, it's night and day. It was good because the project management hat came on and said, okay, how do we deal with this, right? But it was an absolutely amazing experience, and the end result was we've got a building that is essentially is brand new, that we've got 95% electrical, probably 85 to 90% of the plumbing is redone. We've got brand new units. Like this building's ready to go for the next decade without much of anything to be done. So it ends up being a very, although it's an over budget, it ended up being an over budget, but the end result is that the valuation is unbelievable. And we've got an asset that is now going to be continue to just appreciate year after year.
That's amazing. Yeah, 100%. And just I feel like the learning experience is so valuable too. Like I mean, I said it before, right? Any next projects that you come into, you're like that. Like one of the things you said, now you're bringing your full teams to check everything out. Because another thing that you spoke about was the electrical panel. Did For the electrical panel, it was just the fact that you had those baseboard heatings added in, and that's what added it? Or is there a way, for example, for people to be able to see if they would need to increase their amperage?
So what happened was we had 60 amp panels in the units, which if we're just doing a renovation, we didn't need to upgrade them. The minute that we had to upgrade them to 100 amp panels, we had to run 100 amp wire from the side of the building through the entire building into the units. So that's a major expense. Then because we were having to upgrade, we needed more power because now we need to go from 60 amp panels in the units to 100 amp panels. You need more electricity, causes you have to now upgrade the service entrance. And because we were upgrading some of the service entrance, we were then informed we had to upgrade the entire service entrance. So we went from, we were hoping, we went from no service entrances having to be touched to we thought we were having 5 to then we had to have 8. Right?
By
So
service entrance, what is that? What do you mean by that? Is that you mean the public areas, or you're talking about
the actual electricity that comes into the actual unit? So we had to put new meters on the outside. We had to put the mast up further above the roof line because that's now code. Because the mast was 2.5 feet below the roof line. We had to upgrade the panels to newer panels as well because we had some of the older breaker panels that were old, very old. So again, it becomes a spiral effect of things that have to be corrected, and some of them we had the choice to. Well, we don't need to do that. But why would we go and do all of this and not do that one thing? Because if that fails in the future, it's going to cost us way more than just doing it now, right? And that was the huge thing. And electric baseboard heat needs a lot of additional electricity. Like, actually, I can show you. So let me flip this. So like that's one unit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
like we're talking
realize how much you need for one unit.
Yeah. So the stove takes up one huge one. That's 40 amps. Well, we had apartment, and that was the other thing. We had apartment size fridges and stoves, so we didn't need as much electricity. So we went up to there's nothing here is apartment size. We went full on. If people are going to make a life here, we want them to make a life here. So we put in full 30-inch fridges and stoves. So like when I get into the heat pump takes up 1, 2, 3 lines that you can see over here to run the heat pump. And and then there's another heat here and another heat here. Like we've got in this one unit, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these breakers. And again, some of them are doubles that are for just running the heat. So we had to upgrade the electrical to meet that requirement. Which then also allowed us that we could put the heat. Well, you can see the heat pumps running in behind me here with the air conditioning. That's why I'm sitting here because it's nice and chill. It was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of amazing trades. We had HVAC company, we had electrical company, plumbing company, painting, the contractor themselves, like all kinds of the flooring guys that came and did stuff. So. Also built a lot of really great relationships and stuff. So it was a great, like I said, I've said this like 100 times already. It was such an amazing learning experience of just up leveling stuff that if somebody was following around, trying to do this, on their own, would probably take them a lifetime to learn what we got to learn in one building, right?
Or yeah, 100%. Or even just they may have not even made it, like you had the courage to even finish it and get it done. And again, I'm also saying it like the problem solving, the solution creation is so important for this, especially when you're getting into bigger problems. So important to have that and maintain that because it can be so easy to get like down on one thing. And it's just like that. You ended off with this amazing project. And I think as investors, I don't know, that's like we're normally dealing with these massive, big problem projects, hence why we get such great deals on the buy, because we're going to be coming into crazy problems. But then we finish off with something amazing and something great for people to live in, and be able to gentrify the cities a bit.
Yep. No, that's the one thing. That's one of the other bigger things I've learned since moving back to St. John and starting this process is like, as a landlord, as a property manager, we have such an opportunity, and I feel an obligation to help improve our city by providing quality places to live. And at the end of the day, it's still a business. We still have to make money. We can't give away the place for free. And things like that. But if you're going to ask somebody to pay a good rent factor to pay for your investment, you need to deliver on the promise of, I'm going to look after that property. I'm going to look after things if and when they come up and be responsive. And, sometimes you get some requests that are a little crazy, that don't make any financial sense to do them. And you have to say no. But, other times you know what? I didn't think of that. I've had tenants that have literally blown my mind with some of the things that they've thought of. Well, what if we did this? And it ends up costing us a little bit of money to get going with it, but we end up saving money long term, right? So it's communication. Open communication saves so much time and frustration, and builds relationships that if and when something happens, it's not the end of the world because you have a relationship with people. And I absolutely love real estate investing. It is. I wish I'd fallen into this a lot earlier in life, but I say that, and it's like I don't know if I would have had the experience earlier in life to be able to do this with the level of confidence that I have in it now. So yeah.
I love it. I'm the same. I love real estate. There's so much good in so many different ways, like that. Like the learning is really fun and experiencing all this is fun. But it's also at the same time, like what you're giving to people out at the end is also really like a lot of fun and kind of honoring. It's kind of exciting to just see like people fall in love with the places and stuff.
Yep.
Any final words that you would like to tell our viewers?
Underwrite, and underwrite. Get out there, walk properties, go see the properties you're underwriting whenever you can. I know obviously some of us underwrite properties across the country, but it all starts with underwriting, because until you can underwrite and know how to build a deal to make it lucrative, it's hard to do. It's hard to grow this. And I know when I first started doing this, I underwrote 200 properties in just over 45 days. And I just ran numbers, income, expenses. Does this make sense? What if we did this? Would that make sense? And that's how I got, when I can look at numbers now and go, you know what? If we can do that and do this, look at the cash flow now, right? So underwrite. That is my, 100%. And have fun. This is so fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is. And yeah, you're right. I think even it doesn't matter your role in real estate. I think always the fundamentals, just knowing how to underwrite is exactly what you're saying is so important, because even if maybe that's not your role in the team, it could always help because like things can always get missed. You know, you always want to be able to like double check your work or have someone else double check your work and stuff. So I love
Yep.
that. Yeah, I think I'm also an advocate of get those numbers, understand it. And like you said, don't feel shy to go to properties that are like open houses. Go and check them out and run those numbers. It sounds annoying sometimes, but it does definitely benefit you and start building the confidence, I would
Yep.
say, right? Because once you start seeing like your numbers start looking the same, you start realizing, oh, I'm really starting to get this. So
Yep.
thanks to you so much, Hanson. It was so much fun to talk with you. I love that you shared this project because, like you said, so many problems in there, but a lot of great learning experiences, not only for myself, but I'm sure for the audience a lot more too. So thank you so much, Hanson. If you guys love what you heard from Hanson, if you want to know what he's up to these days, he will be tagged on this video, so you'll definitely be able to follow him. And if you love my shows, or you love specifically this one, send us some love. Tell us how much you liked it. Tell us what you've learned. And definitely follow me to keep up to date with the shows and what I'm up to. Hanson, thank you so much
Awesome.
for coming on. Thank you, everyone, and we'll
Thanks.
see you all in the next episode. Bye,
See
everyone.
ya.